Erica and Sharon are sisters who began their grief journey in 2006 when Erica's 10-year-old son Austin drowned. Together, they participated in a grief education program, were so moved by this experience, they studied and became specialists so they could help the brokenhearted find recovery. In 2015, tragedy struck their family once again when Erica's oldest son Donovan was killed in a motorcycle accident. Erica and Sharon are committed to sharing their experiences of love, loss, and healing through this podcast. Now your grief specialists, Sharon and Erica.
So you've just come to a loss. You've got to walk up the stairs and tell your sister that her son has drowned. You don't know how to do it, and you realize that you've never even used the word grief or said the word grief. But instead of grieving, you choose to be strong. You choose to keep busy. You choose to make the arrangements. You choose to be the leader in the room. You choose to be the person on the phone having all of the conversations. And this goes on for days. It goes on for weeks. It goes on for months. Sometimes you do cry, but that's mostly in private. You don't talk about it. People aren't asking you about it because they're so concerned for your sister and for her husband. They're all ask you about her. They'll ask you about the kids. I'm here to tell you that that was me 100%. That was me 100% when Austin died. And not until the day I sat in a grieving program that I brought Erica to get fixed because I thought that she was broken. It was not until that day, 8 months later, man, this is making me emotional, that I truly became the griever for the first time. And here's the deal. Had I not taken Erica to that program and tried to get her fixed, I wouldn't probably be sitting here doing this podcast right now because I would still be being strong. My friends, we have to become the griever and allow the grief. And we have to allow the grief in order to start healing. You have to be the griever.
We have done multiple podcasts in a similar sense, but people don't realize there's choices. So you have to choose to be the griever. When Austin died, I didn't think I had choices. So I just didn't see any other way but to go through. And I didn't even know that was the thing at the time. A lot of what we did with Austin's death was just stumble into things correctly. You holding space for me, letting me tell the story, trying to actively find the correct action steps, we just kind of accidentally, it was a happy accident, right?
Yeah.
When Donovan died, I already knew all the things. I knew I had choices. I knew there were tools, but I 100% said, I'm not going to be this. I'm not going to be the griever. I am not doing it. I'm not doing it. Nope. No, thank you. I gave it the office already. Moving on. It makes your grieving experience 1,000 times worse, and it prolongs it so much longer.
When Donovan died, I literally had this thought. Well, we have the tools. We know what to do, and we're going to do this, and I'm going to help her, and I'm going to guide her, and together we are going to do this. Little did I know that you had a different thought, which was, hell no, I won't go.
Yes.
Right? So, and that is so, so important because you were refusing to become the griever. You were mad that you were having to become the griever. When you say, I'm going to become the griever and I'm going to allow this, I believe, Erica, that this is what, when they took the 5 stages and tried to add them onto grief, when they talk about acceptance, accepting is not accepting that your person has died. Accepting is saying, I will accept being the griever. It's a shift in your mind. It's a shift in your thoughts. It's allowing, it's almost like opening your arms up and saying, okay, come through me, come to me. I will allow this to be here.
I can't even say it's 100%. That's exactly what I went through after Austin, because I felt like I looked at the situation. There's nothing I can do about it. He's not coming back. So acceptance is like the perfect word. He's not coming back. I don't have any other choice but to go through this process so that I can keep my family together and we start picking up the pieces of our life that have just been wrecked. That's what I did. It was like wholeheartedly, like I embraced the grief. And I say that like after Austin, I dealt with it so graciously because I accepted it. This is our life. We don't have a choice but to do this. But yeah,
Right.
you're right. I picked up that picket sign when Donovan died. It said, hell no. And I started marching back and forth. And I was like, wouldn't talk about the grief, wouldn't acknowledge the grief or the pain. You were trying to like, hey, we're in acceptance. And I was like, you may be, but I am over here in resistance. And this grief shit ain't happening again.
The other thing that happens, Erica, that we see, and yes, that was you 100%. The other thing that we see is the griever concentrating on other parts of the grief that aren't really, because they don't want to deal with the pain, right? So they might be, they completely 100% go out to go after the drunk driver, or they go out to going after the city for the stop sign that should have been there, or they go out to being mad at the school because they didn't acknowledge that the kid was not feeling well, whatever the situation would be. They hyper focus on that one thing. They hyper focus on that one thing instead of allowing the grief. We find this a lot when a murder has occurred or a death by suicide. The griever becomes a detective and they want to solve the murder. They want to solve the situation. It doesn't necessarily have to be a murder. They want to solve. Really what's happening is intellectually in their mind, they have to put all the pieces of the puzzle together, is what they're trying to do. And instead of saying, I got to allow this, I'm going to be in this pain. Because the whole time that we're out being the detective and we're concentrating on other parts of the loss and the grief, we're not allowing the grief. We're not allowing what has happened. I'm going to go into a very sensitive area, which was the site where Donovan had died. It was really important for me to go to that site because my brain had to put 4 pieces of the puzzle together. Brittany wanted to go. She really felt that she needed to go there. Brittany is my daughter. And you didn't feel like you had to go. But that is like, we could hyper focus on that and trying to figure out, right? We became detectives that day. My husband did stunts for 50 years. He actually was able to break down what had actually happened in the accident. That's all intellectual. All of that was intellectual, Erica. All of that was our brain having to have those pieces of the puzzle put together. Because the truth was, if I ripped all that away, Donovan wasn't here anymore. My heart was broken. I was lost. I was grieving.
Yeah, 8 years later, I still have never been there. My grieving heart knew even then what I could and could not handle. And so I've never had the desire to go or even see pictures or any of that. But this is what's happening though. Your heart is screaming, make this make sense.
Yeah.
And your brain goes, okay, I'm on it. And so your brain, like you said, all intellectual, your brain starts Googling, your brain is going to the site, your brain is pulling out the tape measure, you know what I mean? Because your heart is just, make this make sense.
Yeah.
How did this happen? And not, and it's just for our personal story, not just once, but twice.
Yeah.
So I think even more so where you jump into being strong, you like jumped into Terminator mode of being strong when Donovan died, because how does this happen twice to my same sister? You know what I mean? How have I had to tell her twice that her children have died? Like it just, that doesn't make sense. So our
Yeah.
hearts were screaming and your brain jumped into action and you just went into overdrive. And like I said, measuring and having Tony look at it and, really coming up because you were trying to make sense of this, not just for me. I think you're telling yourself it's for me, but really for you too, because your heart was broken. You were his godmother. Like he worked for you. You knew, boy, such a different level as a worker, and you got to see him in action, at the weddings, and it's like a different connection. So we have to do that for our sanity, I think, almost. We have to do that, but you also have to realize when it's time to hang that up and really go to the heart and say, it doesn't make sense. I don't know why. I could not go down the rabbit hole of the why. I knew also just intuitively that was something I would get lost in that space. And I didn't want that because there's no answer right now. We don't have it.
Yeah.
And I say this, and I've said this on podcasts before. If God came and knocked on my door and said, Erica, this is why, it wasn't going to stop the pain.
Yeah.
It wasn't going to make it hurt any less.
Yeah.
Having the reason was not going to make it hurt any less. It hurt to the core of my soul. It broke me in ways I never imagined I could be broken. And knowing why was not going to change a damn thing.
Yeah. Erica, when did you become the griever with Donovan? What would you say?
When Lewis told me in not so many words that I had to.
Right. And so from the day Donovan died till that day, how long?
Yeah.
How much time?
Which was almost just right at his 1-year anniversary.
So, and here's the other thing. That part that you were doing before that, what do you call that?
I was resisting. I was resisting being the griever.
Exactly. That's
I
resistance.
was like juking and jiving, like, I'm not the griever. You can't catch me. I'm not it.
For me, I was resisting too, but I resisted by being strong and keeping busy. So there's hundreds of ways that we can resist. We can resist with alcohol. We can resist with drugs. We can resist with sex. We can resist with pornography. We can resist with keeping busy. We can resist with going back to work. We can resist with refusing to grieve.
Yeah.
With refusing to grieve, you have to actively think in your mind, I've got to step into this grief and do the action steps that I need to move beyond this pain, to start living again.
Yeah, that is the goal. When you're in the crux of the grief, you don't ever think living a normal life is possible. You really don't. You feel like you've been robbed of every opportunity to have joy, to laugh, to love. And it's not true. All of that, once you should make the choice to become the griever and you do all the grief things you need to do, it looks different for everyone, but really the bottom line is doing the work and getting through the pain. The joy comes back.
Yeah.
The love for your others comes back. The living, the life comes back.
Yeah.
It's not immediate, but it does. It comes back.
Yeah. It's true. It is so true. But the work that you have to do is not easy. And I'm not going to, it's not easy to get there. So I don't want anyone thinking that we're selling them, roses and daisies. The other thing is going back to what you said earlier in this podcast, the griever has choices. They have choices. You have a choice to become a griever. You have a choice to do healing. You have a choice to sit with the grief specialist and share your loss and your brokenness. Those are all choices you have. My friend, you're not alone. You have choices.
It's so easy for us to get stuck in our rightness, and I do that a lot, even still to this day. Of, I told him not to buy that motorcycle, or I told him not to do those drugs. I told him not to drive drunk. So when our loved one does something that we told them not to, and that ends up in them dying, we got to get past our rightness and still deal with the pain, because it
Yes.
doesn't make it. I My relationship with Donovan, even though as a parent, that's how I parented in my rightness, it didn't make it any less painful because I was right.
Yeah. Absolutely. Hey, friends, we would love to invite you to join our Facebook group. We have a beautiful Facebook group for women who are grieving. We show up in that Facebook group. We put training in that Facebook group. We ask questions. We are putting together a community of women who are grieving, and we're coming together as one. And we would love you to join our group. The link is in the bio below, and we look forward to seeing you in the group.
Bye, friends. Thank you.